No, you've been promoted, so now you're able to delegate that project and focus on more important things like selling. All right, gang, so welcome back to today's meeting on sales for the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Internship experience. We're going to go over in the next 45 minutes or so as much as possible, but I could realistically spend 45 hours or 45 straight days going over things you could learn about sales. It's an art form, there's some science to it, but a lot of it is practice and repetition. And whether or not the job you have this summer is a sales-specific role, you're going to be selling. And you've already been selling most of your whole life. Think about every little candy bar or stuffed animal or toy you ever got from the grocery store with your mom and dad. You sold them on, hey, it was better to get you this thing than to have you cry for the rest of the shopping trip. Okay? Inside your organization, you're going to be selling to coworkers, to your boss. When you have ideas, you're selling them. When you and friends are trying to pick out what restaurant to go to, you're selling them or they're selling you. Anytime you're in a group of people you want to influence the decision they're making, there's elements of sales that are tied in there. So before we go through the slides, let's do the introductions we've been doing the past couple weeks. Just to have everybody take a deep breath in. Exhale and say your name, your title, and the company you're working for this summer.
Hi, my name is Will McNamara. I'm an operations intern at Cortex Building Intelligence.
Hi, my name is Mateo Ricardo, and I'm an intern for Link Strategic Partners.
Hi, I'm Clyde Leaf, and I'm selling hot sauce for Peruvian Brothers.
Hi, I'm Charlie Hammond, and I'm an intern for Clutch.
Hi, I'm David Reyna, and I'm an intern at Link Strategic Partners with Mateo.
Hi everyone, my name is Marco DeVito, and I'm an intern in the Business Intelligence Department at Urban Centers.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm a summer intern at Saturday.
Hi everyone, my name is Yukta, and I'm an e-commerce intern at Urban Studies.
Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm an adjunct professor here at Georgetown, and former traveling sunglasses salesman who's going to share a lot of wisdom with you from 5+ years I spent driving around the mid-Atlantic with a giant white van full of sunglasses and displays where I basically stop in at every surf shop or corner store, eye doctor's office, any place that I thought they might be able to sell sunglasses. I'd go in and have to go through kind of the 8 steps of selling that we're going to go over today. So the art and science of sales. First, we want to define what sales are, the anatomy of your sale, and some of this will be specific to your roles in the summer, but a lot of it is a kind of a general framework that you can use to apply to any product, service, or idea you want to sell, and kind of going through your sales pitch. For each one that comes up here, tell me if this is a myth or the reality. Myth? Okay, cool. So sales is really getting people to fall in love with your idea. And it's not some sleazy used car salesman thing where you need to trick and deceive people. You actually want to add value. Like, so much of what you're doing is trying to make their lives better. And when you get to a point in time where you believe so much in the product and service you're selling that the prospect or the customer's life is worse because they don't have it, then it becomes really, really easy to sell and to overcome objections because you've thought through the different things that are going to pop up or they might have concerns about, and understand that their lives will be better once they have your product. So selling is a human endeavor. There's a great book by Dan Pink, To Sell is Human, and it's basically the ability to get people to part with their resources, whether that's time, effort, or money, and you want to make it genuine and authentic. So what works for one of you in here to sell may not be the same strategy or approach or tone of voice or script that works for everybody else. You want to show up as your authentic self, or maybe at least 80% of your authentic self. You know, we've touched on a little bit, you don't need to be your weekend college student partying self at work or when you're selling, but who your personality is, where you're from, how you enjoy building relationships. You know, one of the things I sent out at the beginning of this week was all about the Clifton Strengths Finder assessment and kind of identifying what your strengths are. And I gave you 2 weeks to kind of take the assessment, reflect on what the results are, because a lot of that will actually tie into how you approach selling. and some of the 34 categories they give are going to be at the bottom and kind of your weaknesses. Don't spend any time on them. It's a waste of energy and effort to try to level up those things that are at the bottom of the list for you. Focus on the top 5 to 10 things, and we'll talk after spring break about how you can apply them to different ways of selling. Does anybody know what ABC stands for? Good. It also stands for attunement, which is listening to the customers to see and hear their perspective. The first few steps of the sales process is all about probing and asking questions. All right, you want to get to understand them. What are the pain points that they're facing? Buoyancy, which means staying afloat. You're going to get knocked down. People are going to say no several times. I believe more than 60% of sales happen on the 4th closing attempt or more, which means you get told no at least 3 times, and if the first time you get told no, you walk away, you stop trying to sell it to them, you're going to lose almost all of the deals. You have to be prepared for several reasons and times and objections they're going to bring up to say no, and be able to bounce back and just keep the conversation going. All right. One of the best analogies, bless you, for being a great closer, it's not about closing a higher percentage, it's about creating more closing opportunities. So let's think about Michael Jordan and all the baskets he scored when he was playing basketball. He was so damn good because he created so many shooting opportunities or closing opportunities in the sales thing, all right? And it's being able to do something that puts you in a position to ask a question that if yes, sale is closed. You also need clarity. So you want to clearly communicate your message and provide customers with new insights. By giving them new insights, you're also establishing your credibility and that you're an expert in this field. Clyde, I would encourage you to try a bunch of different hot sauces and then get to the conclusion that, hey, this is like the best hot sauce. And that, hey, I've eaten all these different hot sauces. I had a wing eating contest with my buddies. We tried, 20 different sauces. Like, this came out the best. It's another myth or reality. Sales requires convincing someone to do something they don't want to do. That's a myth. So the reality is that sales gives people an opportunity to buy what they need. Is this a myth or reality that if you do good work, it'll sell itself?
You have to be able to present it in a way that's digestible so that you can see the value.
It requires effort and attention to the prospects. Some entrepreneurs, some people think, hey, if I make a cool website and a landing page, I have a message on there, it's just going to sell itself. It's not the case. There's definitely hand-holding that is required throughout the process. What about if the price is too high? Do you think you need to give discounts? Hey, what do you think?
It's really a case-by-case basis, because you also, there's like opportunity cost, so there's profit, what's the market going to look like? Sometimes, it might be too high, but also you might want to think, okay, what are my competitors doing versus what I'm doing?
Yep.
It's like people will, at the end of the day, it does come down to things are only as much as people want to pay, but there is a little bit of not cohesion, but a little bit of encouraging, this is the market as it stands right now. You're not going to find anything lower than us and my competitors.
And what people are willing to pay is directly related to the value they perceive they're receiving. So if you start to present a product, you get into your sales presentation, and the first thing somebody asks is how much does it cost? Do not answer that question. Bridge to anything else to talk about the features, the benefits, to ask them a question about their problem and pain points. You need to, in the front half of your presentation, increase the value they're perceiving from what you're going to deliver. So let's take urban stems as an example. If somebody just said, how much is this bouquet of flowers? Oh, it's $79. I can buy 10 bouquets from Trader Joe's for $79. And that happens to be where I buy a lot of my flowers because I'm balling on a budget. However, if you told me that it was able to deliver the flowers to somebody I loved in a different city on a specific date, and they're, and we also insure the flowers that if they're damaged or for some reason, basically saying things that will reduce the risk. So you want to think about what are the risks that people have in their head that would prevent them from buying. And if the flowers aren't pretty, or if they don't get there on the right day or time, like if it's your anniversary and they show up the day after your anniversary, probably not looking too good. you know, and understanding too, to David's point, what are the other alternatives? And how can you position yourselves as having more value or more credibility? Maybe it's the number of 5-star reviews on Yelp. You know, what are other customers saying about it? What social proof from other sources kind of boost you up? So I want to go over a little bit of sales terminology. There's sales, advertising, marketing, business development. I'm going to throw out there that business development is probably my favorite of all of these words. And when I joined Wadeborn Sunglasses, my title, the original title I got was Director of Business Development. And you may ask, Mike, how'd you come up with that title? Well, me and the founder did not know what to call me. And he talked to some people that were smarter than us, and he Googled some things, and he looked on Wikipedia, and he literally sent me a link to Director of Business Development on Wikipedia, and it's like somebody who goes out and talks to people and develops business. Like, it doesn't exist previously. You're building a relationship, you're asking questions, understanding what their pain points are, and then presenting something that can solve the problems that they've identified. Advertising tends to be things you spend money on, so like Facebook ads, ads in newspapers, things like that. Marketing can be a lot more free-like things, like getting influencers to wear it, making one-pagers, like different ways in which you present your brand, your other things. And sales is not a dirty word. So I also want you to be comfortable knowing that you're all salespeople, and for your entire life until you die, you will benefit from getting better at sales. And one of the best ways to get better at sales is to practice it, and the other way is to listen to audiobooks or tapes. Like back in the days, even before me, people would like have cassette tapes they put in their car, and you'd get traveling salesmen that would go to a new town. As they're driving 4 hours down the road, they're listening to these tapes, and like part of it is affirmations and things to make you feel good, but it's different tactics for communicating. And if you play it and then you repeat it, like you have to be comfortable saying these words. You can't just read them. One of the reasons every week we're doing these introductions is so by the end of the semester you should be very confident articulating your name, your title, your company's name, and introducing yourself. That's just step one. So we'll get to it. Literally the first step of the sales process is saying, hi, I'm Mike. Just introduce yourself, use your name. I'll give you a pro tip. This is also the best way to introduce yourself to a potential romantic partner. Not with some cutie pickup line or trying to make a joke. Just, hi, I'm Mike. Introduce yourself. All right? I'm an adjunct professor at Georgetown, and I'm here to talk to your students about X, Y, and Z. You introduce your name and the business you work for, what your role is there. So business development, as I said, creates opportunity. Marketing creates demand. Advertising creates awareness. And sales creates revenue. All right? So what exactly is it that you're selling? One, you're selling yourself. Are you a credible source? We talked earlier in the semester about your personal brand. How you show up, what you're wearing, that says a lot about whether or not you're credible. Your company, can your team deliver? If you have, if your company has, God bless you, like a startup t-shirt with a logo on the front, that's a great thing to wear. Communicates, hey, I work for this company, here's our brand, we at least have enough money to make t-shirts, and then your goods, products, and services.
Would you say like in that order? Like if
Yes.
you were to-
Yeah. First and foremost, it's yourself. Like if you show up in like board shorts and a tank top, probably not going to care too much what your company is or what you're selling. So who are you selling to? This is important. You're selling to your customers. Who are they? Why do they buy? Your employees. Technically, they're selling you and you should work there, but the suppliers. So many of you will deal with a supply chain and other people, vendors you might need to work with who do the manufacturing, who do the packaging. And then oftentimes entrepreneurs are selling to investors. You need to sell them on this dream, this vision that what you have today is going to be worth millions or billions of dollars in the future. I'm reading a book right now by the Netflix co-founder called This Will Never Work. And I'm at the point where they just got their first $2 million in an investment. Now they're worth more than $10 billion, I think. But to hear his story from 1997 as they're getting ready to mail DVDs, and most people don't even use DVDs yet, it's really cool to kind of see what does that beginning phase look like, and who is he selling. One of the first investors was his mom. and his mom didn't invest because it was a good idea. She invested because, well, that's her son, and she was a real estate person and had $25K to say, hey, I think you're not going to suck at this. Also, I want you to be able to feed yourself. So what makes your products and services great? It all comes down to your unique selling proposition. And this is something I encourage you the first couple weeks at each of your internships to talk to people. This is something you can definitely bring up in informational interviews. You know, how would you describe our USP, our unique selling proposition? What is it that we want potential customers to know that we do better, faster, cheaper, stronger, whatever it is, than the other people in the market? And so you can kind of look at it as this 3-circle Venn diagram of what does your brand do well, what does the consumer want, and what your competitor does well or doesn't do well. So you want to find that sweet spot where you have a clear winning advantage, and you can often present it like we do. Like Wayborn had a 365-day warranty, which Oakley or Ray-Ban or any other big brands by Luxottica could never match or offer a warranty like that that would replace your glasses if you lost them, if they were broken, or even if somebody stole them. You lay that out there, like, whoa, you're right, nobody else does that. I've never heard of that. Like, this sounds like something worth spending $150 on. So we're going to take a 2-minute break here. Well, I'm going to take a break. You all are going to write out what your unique selling proposition is, or what you think it is, for the company you're working for this summer. So there's no right or wrong answer, but I want you to write down kind of who's it for, what is the pain point that's getting solved, we offer, you know, what's the solution, that list out some of the features, which means the benefits. So we'll take about 2 minutes now, and then probably 3 of you kind of share them with the group. And this is a great framework that you can use for lots of things that you want to sell, that you want to get people on board with. And anytime you think about a certain set of features that something has, you can use these 2 magical words, which means, that will connect features to benefits. Like, we have a 365-day warranty, which means we'll replace them if you lose them, break them, or they're stolen. Let me know when somebody finishes and want to share. Yeah.
So the 4 is for, like, I'm going based on what I remember from the interview, is I don't know if it's a free material for like nonprofits, like the local famous companies, or nonprofits, the big thing with Link. And the who is for, I more looked at it like the pain point is like social media managing, and we're going to be offering them transparency that will get you the new age audience that's untapped in the future of your company, aka the audience you're probably paying way too much trying to bring in, when in reality you might be paying money for people who might not get it. Kids our age are that young, we'll say college grad, like young 30s demographic that is being really untapped, which means a new market, an era for your company, and a healthy future.
And a lot of what you said there could have gone after that, which means you spent a lot of time in the that section. Some of those were benefits in there. Just like, it was good. I'm saying identified some of those were benefits, which is even better. Who else wants to go? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for Cortex, the 4 would be for commercial real estate owners, their engineers, and the asset managers, C-suites. Who, I really said, the pain point being solved is basically stopping the building from burning too much energy and stopping them from having to pay these massive energy tariffs in New York City.
So real quick, frame it as like for commercial real estate owners who need to reduce that.
Yeah.
And there's like a need or a want or would like to. Need is the best because it's a stronger pain point.
And then we offer an app to be able to closely monitor building startup times and HVAC functions that machine learns to the building and also allows for real-time observation of the building performance, which means for more efficient operations of the building and massive cost savings of upwards of $80,000.
Awesome. Who else wants to go?
I said for general consumers who need a high quality hot sauce, we offered ricotta on hot sauce that is delicious. Hopefully, I haven't tried it. And supports Peruvian women, which means you are indirectly helping people through your purchase choice.
I think you got like half of the pie there. I think there's more you can learn. One, just try to get the hook up with some samples when we get back from spring break. And are you going to be selling primarily to individuals or to wholesale accounts that would then be B2B2C?
No, it would be more.
So you, there's the complexity too of you need to sell it to the business owner and then you need to tell them how to sell it to the consumer. So part of it is for the general consumer, but it's also for the business owner who has people, buying food to cook delicious recipes that lack flavor or bland or whatever it is. Cool. Elizabeth, you want to go?
So I did it in terms of like what Savi has to offer. So I said for adults who have college debt, we offer solutions to lower your debt by using algorithms to find ways to lower debt, which means you could lower your monthly debt payment.
And maybe pay off your student loans sooner?
Yeah.
Or pay off a smaller total amount that you pay? Because then I think part of the value is like either I can give it faster or there's less interest accruing and like over the 10 years that I pay them off, instead of paying like $14,732, it's like $13,612. I'm like, oh, I could save $1,000. That makes sense, especially with compound interest. Great. And for the 4 section 2, the customer type, I'll send out a resource after class on customer personas. Kind of exercise to go through thinking about who exactly it is you're selling to, because the more you know and understand them, the better you can, one, target your pitches, and also when you start talking to people, you want to have a couple clarifying questions in the beginning where if somebody says the wrong answer, you just stop the pitch because you know they're never going to buy it. Like if you're trying to sell and someone has no student loan debt, you don't need to present this solution because it's not a pain point they're experiencing. And that will save you a lot of time as well as you're talking to potential prospects. All right, so now we're going to get into the anatomy of sales. And there's going to be this beautiful funnel figure we're going to see like 15 times in a row because everything you're doing is about the funnel. Cool. Can you guys read all that? Is that big enough font? So basically at the top of the funnel, you've got your initial contact, whether it's an email, a call, meeting somebody at a networking event, cold walking into their place of business, and you want to practice qualifying questions. And I have some scripts that we'll go over. Actually, yeah, let's do it now so that we can. So starting with the introduction, hey Pat, hope you're having a great day. I'm Mike at Company X. One pro tip for the introduction, if you're on the phone, hey, did I catch you at a good time? Always give people a polite way of being like, actually, no, I'm in the middle of changing my kid's diaper, like this is not the time to talk. If they've got a good reason to get out of it, they're not going to pay attention to you. If they're distracted by something else, they've got a meeting, 20 minutes before class, one of my colleagues came in and was like, hey, can you come help me move this painting? And she could see this like glass stare on my face. She was like, or if you're really busy, I was like, honestly, I got class in 20 minutes, I'm trying to finish my slides, like, can somebody else move this thing? Give people that out, it's polite, and then you can ask, okay, when's the best time to connect? Even if you have a scheduled meeting with somebody at 1:30 on Friday, It's a great policy to text them beforehand and be like, hey, look forward to talking to you in 30 minutes. Pick up the phone, call them, hey Elizabeth, is now still a good time to chat? They're almost always going to say yes. And one of the magic of sales is creating something called yes momentum. When you can ask questions that people say yes to, they're more likely to say yes to the next question. I try to use it with my wife all the time. She catches me most of the time, but occasionally I get a couple yeses in, and then she's like, yeah, of course we can do this thing you actually wanted to ask me to do. But sometimes she's like, fuck, you ask me questions that you know is going to be a yes. However, most people aren't going to call you out. So, qualifying questions, may I ask how your organization handles X today? That's one example. Let me zoom in on this one a little bit. What is your current process for this thing? Who do you currently order hot sauce from? How are you currently paying your student loans? Where are you currently ordering flowers for your loved one? How are you currently handling your social media? And there are lots and lots of questions that you can ask in order to better understand. Let me see what the other list of qualifying questions is. Nope, give me a second. There we go. Can you guys see that okay? So we talked a little bit about what's your ideal customer profile, what industry are they in, how long have they been in business. This is the preparation and the research you want to be doing ahead of time. How big is their organization? How many other humans within the organization do you need to get buy-in for them to actually buy it? What are the top challenges your team is facing? You can ask people, what's a day in the life look like? What's your average day? Trying to identify the times or frequencies with which they experience the problem and pinpoint you're going to solve. And you need to be curious here. You are a detective, a journalist, trying to just understand and kind of make notes mentally or with a paper if you're on the phone, about what are the things they said that, I know I've got a feature which means this benefit that I can bring up later that can create a closing opportunity to potentially make the sale. You want to understand what they're doing now. You also want to understand what are the consequences if they don't solve this problem. If you have a solution for coronavirus, you know how many people will pay money for that? The consequences that companies are going through as a result of this thing is massive. And then here's the one I was looking for as well. For doing a product demo. So this is more for tech platforms, but you want to understand when you're qualifying them, what are the objectives they want to solve, what problems are they facing, what is the current solution that they have, or other solutions they're comparing to yours right now because they need to hire a vendor to do this in the next couple of weeks. You also want to ask questions about their timeline for making a decision, because I just said the next couple of weeks, they might have to decide by Monday. If they have a sense of urgency, you want to create as many closing opportunities in that small window as you can. But if they're by June 30th, we need to make a decision, it's probably going to be a longer sales cycle. It's going to take more meetings and more follow-ups because they're not really in a rush. And you can try to create this urgency. Sometimes people will catch it, sometimes they won't. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they're trying to raise money, will say, hey, we're closing the round in 2 weeks. So either you want to create a sense of FOMO, of people missing out that, hey, this is the greatest hot sauce since sliced bread, that we've only have X units left. I was looking at a website earlier today to try to buy some AirPods, and it was only 14 left. They had a countdown for 23 hours and 59 minutes. I don't know how they're going to sell the 14 in the next, exactly one day from when I went on that website, but it created it. Do I need to order this now? I don't know if this is the right website, maybe it's a good deal, but finding ways to create that incentive for people to make decisions is a really effective element of sales. If they have no sense of urgency, it probably doesn't matter as much to them and you're less likely to get the sale. Awesome, started right here. So that's a little bit about qualifying and asking questions to make sure that they are a legit prospect. And then you want to develop the solution. You have one broad solution. You want to tailor the pitch and the presentation of that based on what their needs are and the information and responses you get from those questions. And then you actually have a formal sales presentation. You've identified the problem. The person you're talking to wants that problem to be solved. And this is great. You've gotten yourself to a position where, okay, now I can go through my presentation. and then they have some time to evaluate it, and they're gonna have some questions, concerns, potential objections, and we'll go over some closes that can help expedite your way through those objections. Never be discouraged if somebody says they've got an issue, or like the price is too high, or I'm not sure this fridge is going to fit in my kitchen. We got to measure it. Well, do you have the measurements? Of your existing fridge? Yeah, I do. Well, this is actually the same size as that one, so it'll definitely fit in the same spot. Try to find ways to remedy those objections. And then there's a negotiation phase, and there's always variables. And I will say point blank, everything in life is negotiable. Every single thing. Starbucks charges you $4 for a grande coffee. Ask them next time, hey, can I get this for $3.50? Why? I'm just asking, is there any way you could give me a 10%, 15% discount? They might not do it, but you might get the practice negotiating and also dealing with somebody telling you no. And to be in sales, you need to be used to people telling you no and having that buoyancy and the ability to bounce back. And then we'll get into closing. So again, kind of the 7 steps of selling here. You've qualified them, you've identified the problem, and they want to hear it solved. Or they want to hear a solution for it, which gets you into the presentation where the attention is directed to the features and benefits. You're not going to just have a monologue where you say, we have this feature, which means benefit. We have this feature, which means benefit. We have this feature. You've got to figure out some questions to ask to make them realize that the feature or benefit is something they need, and then that helps to create the awareness in the prospect that your solution will solve their problem, and then eventually they buy the product. So there's a few different sales models. Like Clyde, we were talking about B2B, where you're selling to a business, and that is a little bit more complicated because there's multiple stakeholders there. B2C is straightforward. You're selling to one individual. Maybe they have a spouse or a partner or somebody that they need to get the approval. There's a lot of great closes for people who have a spouse. You're like, oh, I got to talk to my wife. Well, does your wife approve of your current situation and standing in life? Well, yeah, of course she does. Well, if all you were doing was making your life and her life better, wouldn't she be happier when you came home tonight with this solution? And then, well, what if your wife says you should do it? Well, then of course we'll do it. Well, what if she says we won't do it? You shouldn't do it. Fuck, I forgot this. I thought I had another close there. I don't have that one memorized. Again, you got to study. You don't have them all memorized, but I do have a big old book full of them. And so we've got about 15 minutes left. I can fly through these things. I can go over some potential closes. What would be more interesting for you? You want me to try to go through these pretty quickly, and then we can get into some of the closes? I think those scripts are pretty helpful. I don't want to discount how important the presentation is of presenting the product, but your job is to create these closing opportunities. And if you don't have 5 or 10 different closes in your back pocket, after they say no the first time, you're not going to know how to create the second shot or third shot opportunity. So capacity is basically how many hours does it take you to sell, and I've got an Excel sheet that I'll share with you all to calculate the percentage